Serena Johnson tried to stand, but the chair stood with her. For a moment, she thought she imagined it. So she tried again. The chair lifted higher this time. A loud scrape echoed across the polished boardroom floor. 20 executives turned toward her at the exact same time. Serena froze. Her heart began to pound. She slowly sat back down again. Maybe it was just stuck. Maybe the chair leg caught something on the floor. She cleared her throat and forced a professional smile. "Sorry," she said lightly. "1 second." She tried to stand again. The chair rose again, this time completely. Now the entire chair was hanging behind her like an awkward backpack. For 2 full seconds, the room was completely silent. Then someone coughed. Another person choked trying to hide laughter. Serena's face burned, so hot she felt it in her ears. "Oh my God," she whispered under her breath. She tried to twist sideways. The chair twisted with her. Someone whispered across the table. "Is that chair stuck to her?" A few people burst into nervous laughter. Serena wanted the ground to swallow her whole. This was supposed to be the most important meeting of her career. Instead, she was standing in front of 20 executives with a chair glued to her backside. She quickly sat down again. The chair landed loudly. Thump! She pressed both hands against the table and tried to stand one more time. The chair came with her again. This time someone in the room laughed out loud. Serena heard it clearly. It came from the far end of the table. She turned her head, and there she was, Yuna Choi, leaning comfortably back in her seat, watching Serena like someone watching their favorite television show. Smiling, not even pretending to hide it. Serena felt something cold settle in her stomach. But before she could say anything, a calm voice cut through the room. "Miss Johnson." The room immediately went quiet. Serena slowly looked up. Min-jae Park, the CEO. He had been sitting at the head of the table the entire time, silently observing the meeting. And now he was looking directly at her. Serena tried to stand properly. Unfortunately, the chair tried to come along again. More laughter burst out. Serena gave up and remained halfway seated. "Yes, sir," she said carefully. Min-jae studied her for a long moment. Then he said calmly, "Please come forward and present your report." Serena blinked. Come forward? How exactly was she supposed to do that? With a chair attached to her? The entire room was watching. Her palms started sweating. She tried once more to stand. The chair lifted behind her again like a stubborn child refusing to be left behind. This time several executives openly laughed. Marcus, the marketing manager, leaned toward his neighbor and whispered loudly, "Well, that's one way to make a strong presentation entrance." Serena shot him a look that could melt steel. "Not helping," she muttered. She tried pulling the chair away with one hand. It didn't move. She tried lifting her skirt slightly to see what was happening. The chair lifted again. A few more people gasped. Someone muttered, "Oh wow." Serena wished she could disappear. 3 months. She had worked in this company for 3 months. 3 months of staying late. 3 months of proving she deserved her position. 3 months of careful professionalism. And now this. A chair stuck to her like a bad joke. Min-jae stood up slowly. The room instantly went silent. He walked around the table toward Serena. His expression was unreadable. Serena felt her stomach twist with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. "I don't know what's happening. The chair just..." He held up a hand. "Don't move." She froze. Min-jae crouched slightly and looked at the chair. Then he reached down and touched the seat. His fingers paused. Something in his expression changed. He rubbed his fingers together. Sticky. Very sticky. Min-jae straightened slowly. His eyes scanned the room. The temperature in the boardroom seemed to drop instantly. "Everyone," he said calmly, "please leave the room." The executives looked confused. But when the CEO spoke in that tone, nobody argued. Chairs scraped the floor as people stood. Some still looked like they were trying not to laugh. Marcus leaned toward Serena again as he walked past. "If it helps," he whispered, "this will definitely be the most memorable meeting of the year." Serena groaned quietly. "Go away, Marcus." Within a minute the boardroom was empty. Well, almost empty. Serena, Min-jae, and the chair. Min-jae stepped closer again. "Try standing slowly," he said. Serena obeyed. The chair lifted again. He nodded slightly. Then he said something that made Serena blink. "This isn't an accident." Serena stared at him. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the seat of the chair. There's glue. Serena's brain stopped for a moment. Glue. Yes. He touched the edge again. Industrial adhesive. Serena's mouth slowly opened. You're saying someone glued the chair? Min-jae didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced toward the closed boardroom doors. Then his eyes moved slowly across the room. Thoughtful. Calculating. Serena felt a cold chill run through her. Because suddenly, one person's face popped into her mind. Yuna Choi. The way she laughed. The way she watched Serena struggle. The way she smiled. Serena swallowed. That's not possible, she said quietly. Min-jae looked back at her. Why not? Serena hesitated. Because the truth sounded ridiculous. Because accusing a senior executive without proof could destroy her career. But the thought refused to leave her mind. She's hated me since the day I got here, Serena said carefully. Min-jae tilted his head slightly. Who? Serena took a breath. Yuna Choi. Min-jae didn't react immediately, but Serena noticed something interesting. His eyes darkened slightly, just for a second. Then he reached for his suit jacket and handed it to her. Wrap this around your waist. Serena blinked. Why? He pointed at the chair again. The glue is damaging your skirt. Serena looked down. Sure enough, the fabric around the chair seat was starting to stretch and stain. Oh no! She quickly wrapped his jacket around herself. Min-jae stepped toward the door. I'm calling maintenance. Then he paused, and added quietly, and security. Serena felt her heart beat faster again. Because if the CEO was calling security, that meant one thing. Someone had done this on purpose, and whoever it was about to start a very dangerous game. Serena looked toward the door where everyone had exited earlier, and in her mind, she could still see Yuna Choi smile. A smile that said one thing very clearly. This was only the beginning. 3 months earlier, Serena Johnson walked into Park Holdings for the first time with one goal. Do her job well. Nothing more. Nothing less. She had worked too hard to get there to risk it with office politics. The company was one of the biggest international firms in the city, and getting hired had already felt like winning a lottery. So Serena kept her head down. She arrived early. She stayed late. She double-checked every report before submitting it. Within a few weeks, people in the office began to notice. Serena doesn't go home, Marcus once joked in the break room. I think she secretly lives here. Serena laughed it off, but the truth was simple. She wanted to prove she belonged there. Then something strange started happening. During meetings, she began to feel someone watching her. Not occasionally, constantly. At first she ignored it. Boardrooms were full of people. Someone was always looking at someone. But one afternoon, while presenting a quarterly report, she finally looked up, and their eyes met. Min-jae Park, the CEO. He was seated at the far end of the conference table, listening quietly. But he wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at her. Not in a rude way. Not even in a curious way. Just watching. Serena quickly looked back at her presentation and continued speaking. She told herself it meant nothing. He was the CEO. Of course, he would watch presentations. Still, it happened again. And again. Sometimes when she finished speaking, she would glance up, and there he was. Calm. Silent. Observing her like he was trying to understand something. Serena tried not to think about it. Until the lunch incident. It happened on a Wednesday. Serena was sitting at her desk reviewing spreadsheets when someone appeared beside her. Delivery for Serena Johnson. She looked up, confused. The assistant placed a neatly packed lunchbox on her desk. Serena frowned. I didn't order anything. The assistant smiled politely. It's from the CEO. Serena blinked. Excuse me. Mr. Park asked if you had eaten lunch today. Serena stared at the box. Inside was a warm meal from a restaurant downstairs. Healthy. Fresh. Expensive. The assistant left before Serena could ask more questions. Marcus rolled his chair over 2 minutes later. His eyes widened immediately. Whoa, he said. Where did that come from? Serena sighed. The CEO sent it. Marcus nearly fell off his chair. The CEO, he repeated loudly. Serena quickly shushed him. Lower your voice. Marcus leaned closer. You mean that CEO? Yes. The one who barely talks to anyone. Yes, Marcus. The one who rejected 3 partnership proposals this morning without blinking. Yes. Marcus looked at the lunch again. Then back at Serena. Well, He said slowly, "This is interesting." Serena ignored him and focused on eating. It was probably nothing. Maybe he was just being polite. Maybe he sent food to other employees too. But the next week, it happened again. Another lunch. Another message from the assistant. "Mr. Park asked if you've eaten." Serena frowned. Why is he asking? The assistant shrugged. "I only deliver the food." By the third time, the entire department noticed. And one person noticed more than anyone else. Yuna Choi, executive director, second in command, and one of the most powerful women in the company. Serena first met her during a team review meeting. Yuna was beautiful, elegant, sharp, the kind of woman who walked into a room and immediately owned it. At first, Serena respected her, until the meeting ended. As everyone began leaving the conference room, Yuna suddenly spoke. "Miss Johnson." Serena turned politely. "Yes." Yuna looked at her for a long moment. Her eyes were cold. "You're new here, correct?" "Yes." 3 months. Serena nodded. "That's right." Yuna stepped closer. Her voice lowered slightly. "You seem very comfortable here." Serena frowned slightly. "I'm just doing my job." Yuna's lips curved into a faint smile. "Of course." She leaned closer. "Just remember something." Serena stayed silent. Yuna's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "This company runs on professionalism." Serena felt the warning behind the words. "I understand." Yuna studied her face for another moment. Then she straightened. "Good." She turned and walked away. Serena watched her leave, confused. Marcus appeared beside her seconds later. "Oh." Serena looked at him. "What?" Marcus sighed. "You just got the Yuna Choi welcome speech." "What does that mean?" Marcus lowered his voice. "It means she's noticed you." Serena frowned. "Why would she care about me?" Marcus gave her a look. "Seriously?" Serena crossed her arms. "Yes. Seriously." Marcus leaned closer. "Because the CEO never sends lunch to anyone." Serena blinked. "Never. Never." Marcus glanced toward Yuna's office, then back at Serena. "And there's something else you should know." Serena waited. Marcus lowered his voice even more. "Yuna has been trying to get the CEO's attention for years." Serena felt her stomach tighten slightly. "And?" Marcus shrugged. "And suddenly he's sending lunch to you." Serena sighed. "You're overthinking this." "Am I?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Let's just say, Yuna Choi doesn't like competition." Serena shook her head. "There is no competition." But deep down, she wasn't completely sure anymore. Because later that week, during another meeting, Serena felt that familiar feeling again. Someone watching her. She looked up. Min-jae Park was looking at her again. Quiet. Calm. Observing. Serena quickly looked away. And across the table, Yuna Choi was watching too. But unlike the CEO, Yuna wasn't observing. She was calculating. And Serena had no idea that the quiet tension building in that office was about to explode. Serena pulled again. The chair refused to let go. "Okay, this is officially the worst moment of my professional life," she muttered. Maintenance had arrived 5 minutes earlier, but the problem was not getting better. 2 technicians stood behind her examining the chair like doctors, studying a complicated surgery. One of them scratched his head. "Ma'am, how long were you sitting here?" Serena sighed. "About 20 minutes. The technician whistled softly. "Yeah, that glue really settled in." Serena closed her eyes briefly. "Wonderful." Min-jae stood nearby, arms folded, watching carefully. The boardroom door was closed, but Serena could still hear voices outside. People were clearly waiting, whispering, probably trying to imagine what was happening inside. One of the technicians spoke again. "Okay, Miss Johnson, we're going to try something." Serena didn't like the sound of that. "What kind of something?" The man gave a hopeful smile. "We gently lift the chair while you stand." Serena stared at him. "That sounds like exactly what I've been doing for the last 10 minutes. The second technician coughed, trying not to laugh. Min-jae almost smiled. Serena noticed it immediately. "You're enjoying this," she said accusingly. He raised an eyebrow. "Not at all." "You almost smiled." "I did not." The technician interrupted quickly. "All right, let's try." Serena sighed and placed both hands on the table. "Fine." She stood slowly. The chair rose again. Everyone stared. For a moment nobody moved. Then the first technician said carefully, Well, at least we confirmed the chair is definitely attached. Serena dropped back into the seat with a thump. I could have confirmed that myself. Finally, after another 5 awkward minutes, the technicians managed to loosen the adhesive enough for Serena to stand without the chair coming along. The damage to her skirt, however, was impossible to ignore. The fabric around the back was ruined. Min-jae immediately handed her his suit jacket again. Wrap it properly, he said. Serena nodded quickly. Thank you. He turned to the technicians. Remove the chair. They nodded. Serena grabbed her bag and tried to leave the room as quickly as possible. But the moment she opened the door, the hallway fell silent. About 15 employees were pretending not to stand there. Marcus was leaning against the wall with a cup of coffee. When he saw her, his eyes widened dramatically. Wow, he said. So it's true. Serena groaned. Please tell me the whole office isn't standing here waiting. Marcus shrugged. Technically, we were waiting for the meeting to continue. He glanced toward the boardroom. Then someone said a chair attacked you. Serena walked past him quickly. I hate this place. Marcus followed beside her. Don't worry, he said cheerfully. By tomorrow the story will probably become Serena fought the chair and won. Serena sighed. That's not helping. But Marcus was wrong about one thing. The rumors didn't get better. They got worse. By lunchtime, the entire company knew something had happened in the boardroom. Some employees whispered that Serena glued herself to the chair. Others said she tripped and panicked. A few believed someone sabotaged the chair. But no one had proof. Security began investigating immediately. 2 hours later, the answer arrived. Or rather, the lack of one. The security manager met with Min-jae privately. Serena happened to be in the hallway when she overheard part of the conversation. The cameras in that section glitched, the manager explained. Glitched? Yes, sir. The footage from the conference room corridor between 8:30 and 9:15 is corrupted. Min-jae's voice grew colder. Corrupted how? We believe someone accessed the system remotely and caused a temporary disruption. Serena felt her stomach twist. Someone hacked the cameras. That meant one thing. Whoever glued the chair didn't want to be seen. The news spread quickly. Now the rumors changed again. Some employees whispered about sabotage. Others insisted it was still an accident. Serena returned to her office, exhausted. She sat at her desk and rubbed her temples. 3 months of hard work. And now she was the center of office gossip. Fantastic. She was staring at her computer screen when she heard the knock. Before she could answer, the door opened. Yuna Choi walked in. Serena immediately straightened in her chair. Miss Choi. Yuna closed the door quietly behind her. Her expression was calm. Too calm. She walked slowly across the office and stopped beside Serena's desk. Then she spoke. You should learn your place. Serena frowned. I'm sorry. Yuna's voice was icy. You heard me. Serena crossed her arms. I don't know what you mean. Yuna leaned slightly closer. Up close. Her smile looked even colder. You think the CEO likes you? Serena blinked. What? Yuna's eyes narrowed. Don't pretend you don't understand. Serena felt irritation rising. I really don't. Yuna laughed softly. Lunch deliveries. Special attention. Extra meetings. She tilted her head slightly. You think people don't notice? Serena shook her head. That's not what's happening. Yuna leaned even closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You're just a distraction. Serena felt something cold settle in her chest. You're wrong. Yuna straightened slowly. Her smile returned. Oh, yes. Serena met her gaze firmly. I came here to work. Nothing else. Yuna studied her face for several seconds. Then she said quietly, You're naive. Serena frowned. Excuse me. Yuna walked around the desk slowly. Her heels clicked softly against the floor. You think hard work is what matters here? She stopped beside Serena's chair. Companies like this run on influence. Serena remained silent. Yuna leaned slightly closer again. And right now, she said softly, you are standing where you don't belong. Serena felt anger rising. If you have something to say, just say it. Yuna smiled again. Oh, I already have. She straightened and turned toward the door. Before leaving, she looked back once more. And Serena? Serena didn't answer. Yuna's smile widened slightly. Be careful. She opened the door. Accidents happen in offices. Then she walked out. The door closed softly behind her. Serena sat frozen at her desk. Her heart was beating faster now, because the more she replayed the boardroom scene in her mind, the more one thought kept returning. Yuna's laughter, Yuna's smile, and the way she watched Serena struggle. Serena slowly leaned back in her chair. A chilling realization crept through her mind. This wasn't just office jealousy. This was something deeper. Something personal. Serena stared at the door where Yuna had just stood, and for the first time since the chair incident, she allowed herself to think the unthinkable. What if Yuna really did it? If that was true, then Serena wasn't just dealing with office gossip. She was dealing with someone who had already started a war. And the scariest part? The war had only just begun. A week later, something worse happened. Serena had just arrived at work when the entire finance department suddenly became chaotic. People were rushing through the hallway. Phones were ringing. Voices were raised. Marcus rolled his chair over to Serena's desk again. "Okay," he whispered. "Something serious is happening." Serena looked up. "What do you mean?" "The finance department just locked their systems." "That sounds bad." Marcus leaned closer. "Very bad." 10 minutes later the news spread. $300,000 was missing. Gone. Transferred out of the company account overnight. Serena felt a cold knot form in her stomach. This was not a small mistake. This was theft. A full investigation began immediately. IT specialists started checking system logs. Finance managers locked accounts. Security moved through the office like silent shadows. Serena tried to focus on her work, but the tension in the building was impossible to ignore. Then her desk phone rang. She picked it up. Serena Johnson speaking. The voice on the other end was calm. "Miss Johnson, the CEO would like to see you." Serena blinked. "The CEO?" "Yes." Her stomach tightened. "Right now." Immediately. The line went dead. Marcus leaned over the divider again. "That didn't sound good." Serena slowly stood. "Apparently I'm being summoned." Marcus frowned. "Why would the CEO want to see you during a financial investigation?" Serena forced a small smile. "Let's hope it's not about chairs." Marcus didn't laugh this time. Serena walked toward the executive floor. Each step felt heavier than the last. Something about the situation didn't feel right. When she reached the CEO's office, the assistant opened the door immediately. "Go in." Serena stepped inside. The atmosphere in the room was tense. Min Jae Park stood near the window. The finance director sat at the conference table. And in the corner, Yuna Choi stood quietly with her arms folded. Serena felt a strange chill run through her. The finance director spoke first. "Please sit down, Miss Johnson." Serena obeyed slowly. The man slid a printed document across the table. Serena looked down. It was a financial transfer record. $300,000. Sent to an overseas account. Serena frowned. "I don't understand." The finance director folded his hands. "The transfer came from your login credentials." Serena's brain stopped. "What?" He pointed to the screen. "This transaction was initiated from your employee account." Serena shook her head immediately. "That's impossible." The finance director didn't respond. Instead, he turned the laptop screen toward her. System logs appeared. Login time. User ID. Authorization code. All under her name. Serena stared at the screen. Her voice barely came out. "I didn't do this." Yuna shifted slightly in the corner. Serena glanced toward her. Yuna's expression was neutral. Too neutral. Min Jae finally spoke. His voice was calm, but serious. "Serena, is there any explanation for this?" Serena looked directly at him. "Yes." She pointed at the screen. "Someone used my credentials." The finance director frowned. "That would require your password." Serena nodded quickly. "Then someone hacked it." The man shook his head. "There's no evidence of a system breach." Serena felt panic rising. "That doesn't make sense." The director slid another document forward. "Security logs show the transfer was made from your workstation." Serena stared at him. "My computer." "Yes." Serena's voice shook slightly. "I wasn't even here last night." Silence filled the room. Min Jae looked conflicted. He leaned forward slightly. "Serena, I want to believe you." The words hurt more than she expected, because it meant the evidence looked convincing. Too convincing. Serena looked around the room. Then her eyes landed on Yuna. Yuna was watching quietly, almost patiently. That was when Serena understood something terrible. This was not random. This was planned. but without proof. She had no way to fight it. The finance director spoke again. The board has reviewed the situation. Serena's heart pounded. The vote was unanimous. She swallowed slowly. What vote? The man didn't hesitate. You are being terminated immediately. The words hit like a physical blow. Serena stared at him. Terminated? For financial misconduct. Serena turned toward Min-jae. He looked genuinely troubled. But he didn't speak. Serena's voice trembled. You know I didn't do this. He looked at her quietly. I don't know what happened. That was worse. Serena slowly stood. Her entire career was collapsing in seconds. 3 months of proving herself. 3 months of hard work. Gone. Just like that. She picked up her bags silently. No one tried to stop her. When she reached the door, she paused. Then she turned slightly. Her eyes landed on Yuna. Yuna's lips curved into a faint smile. Just for a second. But it was enough. Serena felt a wave of cold realization wash over her. She didn't have proof. But deep down, she knew exactly who destroyed her career. Serena walked out of the office without another word. The door closed behind her. And just like that, her entire life changed overnight. After Serena was fired, the humiliation stayed with her for days. She barely left her apartment. Her phone kept buzzing with messages from coworkers. Some were sympathetic. Some were curious. Others simply wanted gossip. Serena ignored most of them. Instead, she kept replaying the moment in the CEO's office. The finance director pushing the documents toward her. The accusation. $300,000 missing. Her login credentials on the transaction. And Min-jae Park standing there, looking at her with quiet disappointment. That part hurt the most. Not anger. Not shouting. Just disappointment. Serena sat on her couch staring at the ceiling. I didn't do it, she whispered again. She had repeated those words so many times they almost sounded meaningless. But Serena knew one thing for certain. She did not steal that money. And if she didn't, someone else did. Her mind kept circling back to one name. Yuna Choi. The memory of Yuna's smile in the CEO's office kept flashing in her mind. Too calm. Too satisfied. Serena sat up slowly. No, she said quietly. I'm not letting this go. If Yuna framed her, then Serena needed proof. But that was easier said than done. Yuna wasn't just another employee. She was one of the most powerful executives in the company. Investigating someone like that without access to company systems felt almost impossible. Still, Serena started thinking back to her last few weeks at work. Little things. Details that seemed unimportant at the time. And suddenly one memory stood out. Yuna often stayed late. Very late. Not in her own office, but in the finance department. Serena frowned. That had always seemed strange. Yuna wasn't part of finance. She had no reason to be working there after hours. Unless, Serena grabbed her laptop. She opened her contacts and searched for someone she trusted. Ethan Carter, an accounting analyst. They had worked together on several reports. Ethan had always been friendly, careful, quiet, exactly the kind of person who noticed things others didn't. Serena sent him a message. Hey Ethan, I know this might be awkward, but can I ask you something about the finance department? For several minutes, there was no reply. Serena thought he might ignore her. Then her phone buzzed. Serena, this conversation probably isn't safe. She typed quickly. I just need one answer. Was the missing money sent overseas? Another pause. Then Ethan replied. Yes. Serena sat forward. Where? Ethan hesitated again. When the next message arrived, Serena felt her heart jump. Singapore. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Do you know the account holder? The typing indicator appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally Ethan replied. Serena, if anyone finds out I told you this, they won't. A long pause. Then the message appeared. Daniel Lee. Serena stared at the name. It meant nothing to her. She thanked Ethan quickly and closed the chat. Then she opened her browser. Daniel Lee. The name was common. Too common. Hundreds of profiles appeared in the search results. Serena spent the next 2 hours searching. Business profiles. Social media accounts. Professional networks. Nothing connected to the company. Nothing connected to Yuna. Serena leaned back in frustration. This is impossible. But she kept searching. Eventually she switched tactics. Instead of searching the name alone, she added another word. Daniel Lee. Singapore. Yuna Choi. A new set of results appeared. Most were irrelevant. But one link caught her eye. A private social media profile. She clicked it. The page loaded slowly. At first, Serena saw nothing unusual. Vacation photos. Restaurant pictures. A few business events. Then she scrolled further. And her stomach dropped. Yuna Choi. Standing beside a man. Her arm wrapped around his waist. Both of them smiling at the camera. Serena stared at the screen. No way! She clicked the next photo. The same man again. This time Yuna was kissing him on the cheek. Another photo. They were holding hands at a beach resort. Another. They were hugging outside a luxury hotel. There was no doubt about it. They were a couple. Serena leaned back slowly. Her mind started racing. Daniel Lee. The overseas account. The stolen money. Everything suddenly made sense. This wasn't random, Serena whispered. The money wasn't stolen by chance. It was sent directly to Yuna's boyfriend. Which meant one thing. Yuna had planned the entire thing. The glue incident. The missing camera footage. The fake financial transfer. All of it. Serena felt anger rising inside her. But before she could process it fully, her phone buzzed again. It was Ethan. Did you see the company announcement? Serena frowned. What announcement? A link appeared in the chat. Serena opened it. Her eyes widened immediately. The headline read, Executive Director Yuna Choi announces engagement celebration with CEO Min Jae Park. Serena blinked. What? She read the article quickly. According to the announcement, Yuna had organized a private engagement celebration for herself and the CEO. Serena frowned deeper. That didn't make sense. Min Jae Park had never publicly dated Yuna. There were no announcements. No confirmation. But the article clearly said the event would happen in 1 week. Serena slowly leaned back in her chair. And then it hit her. Yuna was forcing the narrative. If the engagement became public, the CEO would be pressured to accept it. Rejecting it in front of investors and executives would create a scandal. Serena's stomach tightened. This wasn't just about jealousy anymore. This was something far more dangerous. Yuna planned to secure power. Marriage to the CEO. Control of the company. And if she had already stolen money once, who knew what she planned next? Serena opened the evidence folder she had been building. Bank transfer records. Screenshots of a Singapore account. Photos of Yuna and Daniel. Private messages she had managed to capture. It was all there. The entire truth. Serena stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she closed the laptop slowly. Her voice was calm. Quiet. Determined. This ends now. The company's luxury, hotel ballroom, glittered with gold lights and crystal chandeliers. Executives filled the room. Investors, business partners, every important name connected to the company had been invited. Waiters moved through the crowd carrying champagne trays. Soft music played near the stage. Everyone believed they were attending a corporate celebration. But whispers had already started spreading. Did you hear? They say the CEO is announcing something big tonight. Maybe a merger. No. I heard it's an engagement. Across the ballroom, Min Jae Park stood near the center of the room speaking politely with investors. But something about the night felt strange. He had been told this event was organized by the executive team as a celebration for the company's recent expansion. Yet the decorations looked suspiciously romantic. White roses, soft golden lighting, even a small stage at the center of the room. Min Jae frowned slightly. This is excessive for a corporate event, he murmured to his assistant. The assistant looked equally confused. I thought you approved it, sir. Min Jae shook his head slowly. Before he could question it further, the music faded. The room grew quiet. Heads turned toward the center of the ballroom. Yuna Choi walked forward gracefully. She was wearing an elegant white dress. Not a business dress. A formal one. Her hair was styled perfectly. And her smile was dazzling. Min Jae's eyes narrowed slightly. What is she doing? Yuna picked up a champagne glass and tapped it lightly. The sound echoed through the ballroom. Everyone, she announced brightly. Thank you all for coming tonight. Guests clapped politely. Yuna's voice carried easily across the room. Tonight is a very special night. More applause followed. Min Jae stood very still. A strange feeling crept into his chest. Something about this was wrong. Yuna turned slowly toward him. Her expression softened. For many years, she said, I have supported this company. Her eyes locked onto Min-jae, and stood beside our CEO. Min-jae's eyebrows pulled together. This speech was not part of any corporate celebration. Yuna reached into her purse. The room held its breath. She pulled out a small velvet box. Gasps spread through the crowd. Someone whispered loudly, "Oh my God!" Yuna opened the box. Inside sat a sparkling diamond ring. The crowd erupted into murmurs. Min-jae felt his stomach drop. What is she doing? Before he could react, Yuna stepped closer. She gently took his hand. "Min-jae," she said sweetly, "I know you're not very good at expressing your feelings." A few guests laughed politely. Min-jae did not laugh. His face had gone completely still. Yuna lifted the ring. "But tonight," she continued confidently, "I will say it for both of us." Then she slipped the ring onto her own finger. The room gasped again. Yuna turned toward the audience. Her smile widened. "I accept." For a moment the entire ballroom froze. Then applause exploded. Guests cheered. Some laughed in delight. Others whispered excitedly. But in the center of the room, Min-jae Park did not move. His expression darkened slowly. This was not an engagement. This was manipulation. Before he could speak, something vibrated in his pocket. His phone. Min-jae glanced down. A new email had arrived. From Serena Johnson. His heart skipped. The subject line read, "Proof of the person who stole your company's money." Min-jae opened it immediately. Files began loading on the screen. The first image appeared. A bank record. $300,000 transferred from the company account. Destination, Singapore. Account holder, Daniel Lee. Min-jae scrolled. More documents appeared. Transfer confirmations. System logs. Then photographs. Yuna Choi, standing beside a man on a beach, holding his hand, kissing him. Another file opened. Screenshots of private messages. One message stood out clearly. "Once we marry, the company money will be ours." Min-jae's face went completely still. Around him, guests were still clapping and celebrating. But the truth had already shattered the moment. He slowly lifted his head. Yuna stood beside him smiling proudly. Completely unaware, Min-jae slipped the phone back into his pocket. Then he quietly signaled to the head of security across the room. The man nodded immediately. Within minutes, several security officers entered the ballroom. The music faded. Guests noticed the sudden movement. Whispers spread. "What's happening? Why are security here?" Min-jae stepped forward. His voice was calm. "Miss Yuna Choi." The entire ballroom fell silent. Yuna turned toward him, still smiling. "Yes." Min-jae looked directly at her hand. "Please remove that ring." The room froze. Yuna blinked, then laughed nervously. "Min-jae, what are you doing?" she whispered. "Everyone is watching." His voice turned colder. "You are under investigation for embezzling company funds." Gasps rippled through the ballroom. The applause stopped instantly. Yuna's smile vanished. "That's ridiculous." Min-jae turned toward the stage. Projector. The large screen behind them flickered on. Then Serena's evidence appeared. Bank records. Transfer confirmations. Photos of Yuna and Daniel Lee. Private messages. The ballroom erupted into shocked whispers. Investors stared at the screen. Executives exchanged stunned looks. Yuna's face drained of color. This is fake," she stammered. But her voice sounded weak. Security officers were already approaching. One of them spoke calmly. "Miss Choi, you need to come with us." Yuna stepped backward. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for support, but no one moved. Her plan was collapsing. Completely. Within seconds, security gently took her arm and escorted her toward the exit. The guests watched in stunned silence. The woman, who had just announced her engagement, was now being removed under investigation. The ballroom doors closed behind her. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Min-jae addressed the crowd calmly. "I apologize for the disturbance tonight." His voice was steady, but integrity matters more than celebration. The event ended shortly afterward. Guests left the ballroom whispering about what they had just witnessed. Later that night, Min-jae sat alone in his office. The city lights glowed outside the windows. He opened Serena's email again. The evidence filled the screen. Every detail she had uncovered, every piece of proof. At the bottom of the message, she had written a short note. "I told you I didn't steal the money, that I just needed time to prove it." Min-jae leaned back slowly. For the first time since the scandal began, he realized how badly he had misjudged her. Serena had been humiliated, fired, accused of stealing. Yet she still fought to uncover the truth. Alone, Min-jae closed the laptop quietly. Then he spoke softly to the empty office. I owe her more than an apology. Across the city, Serena sat by her apartment window. Her phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. Executive director arrested for corporate fraud. Serena exhaled slowly. For the first time in weeks, the weight on her chest lifted. Justice had finally begun to return. And this time, the truth had spoken louder than any lie. 6 months later, Serena stood quietly across the street from the glass building she once worked in. The tall tower reflected the afternoon sun. Employees moved in and out through the revolving doors. For a moment, she simply watched. So many memories were inside that building. The boardroom, the presentation she never finished, the laughter, the moment her chair refused to let her stand, and the even worse day that followed, the day she was accused of stealing $300,000. Serena exhaled slowly. Back then, it had felt like her entire life had collapsed overnight. Her career destroyed, her reputation ruined, her confidence shaken. There were nights when she had almost given up completely. But instead, she fought back. And in the end, the truth had spoken louder than the lies. The news about Yuna Choi spread quickly through the business world. What first looked like a shocking accusation soon turned into a massive corporate scandal. Investigators uncovered something far worse than anyone expected. For nearly a year, Yuna had been secretly transferring company funds into multiple overseas accounts. Small amounts at first, then larger ones, always hidden under complex financial movements. The stolen money eventually led investigators to Daniel Lee, Yuna's secret boyfriend. He was arrested at an airport while attempting to withdraw a large portion of the stolen funds. The moment the story became public, it exploded across financial news outlets. Executives were questioned. Auditors examined the company's entire financial structure. For weeks, the scandal dominated business headlines. But in the middle of all the chaos, one important truth also came out. Serena Johnson was innocent. The company issued a formal public apology. The board even offered her former position back. With a promotion and a generous compensation package, Serena had been surprised when the offer arrived. But she politely declined. Not out of anger. Not even out of pride. She simply felt ready to move forward. Instead, she accepted a position at another firm. A company that valued her work without office politics or hidden jealousy. The new job suited her perfectly. Her ideas were respected. Her work recognized. And for the first time in months, she finally felt at peace. Serena looked at the building one last time. Then she turned to leave. Just as she stepped off the curb, a black car slowly pulled up beside her. She paused. The tinted window rolled down, and a familiar voice spoke. Good afternoon, Miss Johnson. Serena blinked in surprise. Mr. Park. Min-jae Park stepped out of the car. He looked exactly the same as always. Calm, elegant, confident, but there was something softer in his expression now. I was hoping I might run into you here, he said. Serena crossed her arms playfully. That sounds suspiciously like you planned it. He smiled faintly. Maybe I did. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The busy city moved around them. Cars passed. People walked by. But the air between them felt strangely quiet. Finally, Min-jae cleared his throat. I owe you another apology. Serena tilted her head. You already apologized in your email. Yes, he admitted. But that didn't feel like enough. He looked directly at her. I should have trusted you sooner. Serena studied his face carefully. 6 months ago, the powerful CEO standing in front of her had looked completely certain of the evidence against her. Now he looked almost nervous. It was oddly endearing. Finally she smiled. Well, she said lightly, at least you didn't accuse me of gluing that chair. Min-jae chuckled. You have no idea how many times that story has been told in the office. Serena laughed. Hopefully the details improve with each version. Oh, they do, he replied. In the latest version, the chair apparently chased you around the table. Serena covered her face with her hand. That's horrifying, but very entertaining. For the first time since they met, the tension between them felt completely gone. No suspicion, no misunderstanding, just two people laughing at a ridiculous memory. Min-jae glanced toward a small cafe across the street. Would you like to have lunch with me? He asked. Serena raised an eyebrow. Is this a business meeting? He shook his head. No. An apology meeting? Already did that. She smiled slightly. So what kind of meeting is it? Min-jae hesitated. Then he said honestly, a fresh start. Serena thought about it for a moment. Then she nodded. All right. They walked toward the cafe together. But just as they reached the door, Serena suddenly stopped. Min-jae looked at her. What's wrong? Serena turned and pointed toward the chairs inside the cafe. One condition. Min-jae looked confused. What condition? Serena grinned mischievously. You picked the restaurant. Then she pointed again at the chairs. But I'm choosing the seat. For a moment, Min-jae stared at her. Then he burst out laughing. Not the polite laugh he used in meetings. A real one. The kind that made nearby customers glance over. Serena laughed too. And together they walked inside. This time, with absolutely no chairs stuck to anyone.